What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders like the founders of P90X, Atari, many more, and how they overcome big challenges in life and business. This is part of the eCommerce Mastery Series, where top sellers and experts will teach you what really works to boost your e-commerce business. And our sponsor is Rise25.com, where entrepreneurs of 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses come together live and in person every few months to solve their biggest business challenges and leave with lifelong friendships. Check out Rise25.com. It's run by myself, my co-founder, John Corcoran. It's application only. And today we have, you've already heard from him, Charlie Moyer, who went from unemployed. Usually I check this ahead of time, but I do a lot of research ahead of time, so we'll assume it's right. You can correct me. We have Charlie Moyer, who went from unemployed military veteran with no e-commerce or online marketing experience to growing his men's grooming company, Badass Beardcare, from $3,000 per month to $375,000 in monthly sales. It all started with a simple $20 investment, and now he employs over 12 people in their Dorado Hills facility.
Yep. Well, actually, now for the holidays, we're up closer to about 17.
17.
Yep.
Charlie, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, that was pretty accurate.
Okay.
So,
I want to be exactly accurate, so if there's any part of it, correct me.
well, so the very first month, technically, I think was like $30 in sales because we launched the site later in September. And then, so October was like 300 in sales.
Yeah.
And then November is when I started offering our samples.
Yeah.
And I got the idea because I was going to school. I had a bunch of veterans that were there, and I was making the products for myself. And I was like, you know what? I can't use all this. When you buy in bulk to make your own product, you have way more than you need, especially when you're first starting to grow. So I just put it in these sample sizes and gave it to them, and then they started giving it to their friends, and all of a sudden people were asking for me to make products for them. So offer that same free sample online, and like I said, that was November that I started offering that. So November we had 3,000 in sales, and then December we had 30,000 in sales, and then we climbed every single month for a year straight.
That's amazing.
Yep.
So talk about the samples. So how many, I don't know if this is accurate, but how many samples did you give away in the first year?
The first year?
I read 70,000 somewhere.
Yeah, at least.
70,000 samples.
Yeah, it's a little hard for us to get completely accurate numbers, just because a lot of people.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how many times our coupon code for the free sample was used in the first year, and it was about 70,000. But we had people that decided they didn't want to get something for free. It was only like $3.99 or $4. They wanted to buy it themselves. So we had people that were, buying multiple of our sample sizes just to try it out.
So for the samples, when someone goes on, can they get them for free, or do they have to pay for shipping, or how did you decide to work that? Because that's an expensive endeavor. It
is a very expensive endeavor, and also very time consuming to try to make these tiny little samples all the time. But found it was worth it. I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
No, what was the strategy? I want to see, did you, at first, was it completely free? Did you charge for shipping? And then what is it like now?
Shipping has been $2.50 since we started. So I just charged what the post office was charging me. I didn't charge for handling. I didn't charge for packaging or anything like that. Just whatever the post office charged. So that's still what we're doing. The post office actually hiked its rates at the beginning of this year, but because we were sending out so many free samples, we actually were able to get a discounted rate. So we're back down to where we were before the hike. So
basically people can go on and they can buy a free sample. They just have to pay for the postage. And
it's $2.50, and if they don't like it, we offer to refund their shipping or send them another sample for free and we'll pay for shipping.
So how do you decide what size the sample should be? What size is it currently?
Currently, it's about 3 milliliters, about 1/10 of an ounce for the oil, and the balm is about 1/6 of an ounce.
Okay. What is that like with someone using it? Is that like a week's, like what is
so
that?
Obviously, if you got a beard like mine, or if you got stubble, or if you got a beard that's 2 foot long, it really depends.
Right.
I can get probably 3 to 4 uses out of the sample oil and 4 to 5 uses out of the sample balm.
Okay.
And now, just recently, we've offered a free sample of our all-natural beard and body wash as well. So people can get a free sample of all three, still for just $2.50 shipped. And
So
I figured,
why that size? Why? I mean, because you could obviously go, we can make it smaller, we get larger.
so any smaller, and I feel like people would think they're getting ripped off for the $2.50 for shipping.
Yeah.
Um, Although it costs just that to ship it. If they try to ship it back, it would cost
Right.
them more. But
Because it's the time. I mean, your team and you're packaging it. You have the cost of the goods. I mean,
yeah.
it's
Well,
there's a lot of
consumers don't
cost
see that.
involved.
Yeah, consumers don't see that. Consumers only want to see, what they think it would cost them to do the same thing. And if they're not a business owner, they don't realize everything goes into it. So
Right.
one of the biggest things that I've learned since starting the business is you have to think like the consumer. And I'll give you an example of that, and how it ties into the free sample.
Yeah.
So everything was entirely online or social media, and I was handling all of our messages on Facebook. And when I first launched the ad for the free sample, that $20 ad that you were talking about, I got like between 600 and 1,000 messages a day on Facebook. People asking, how do I get this? What's the code? What do I do? And then so I put everything on the site. So it took me 3 months of doing that every day, of answering all those messages. But finally, I just put it on the site, and I was like, you know what? I'll put it there. That way, anyone that wants it can get it.
You just send it to them. Yeah.
But I was still getting messages of people saying this is a scam. The coupon code doesn't work, and all this stuff. And I'd be like, okay, well, what code are you using? And they would misspell the word trial. It's TRIAL. They would spell it TRILE, TRAIL, like just all these different variations. And it was really hard to tell these people, like, we're not scamming you. You're just not spelling the word trial. So it was very frustrating for a few months. And then finally, it was an epiphany. I created coupon codes to match every possible version of the word. So instead of correcting people, I just made all these different versions of the code so that no matter how they tried to enter this code, it would work for them.
Right. That's smart. So that initial investment, that was in a Facebook ad?
Yeah, Facebook ad.
And then what did you actually put in the Facebook ad? Because at the point, obviously I read at the beginning was no e-commerce, no online marketing experience. What did you put in the ad?
It was a picture of the sample size oil and balm. And then it said in the text, just, like and share our page, and then message us for a coupon code for a free sample. And then, I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. I put it up on our Facebook page. This is back before Facebook really jacked up with their algorithms. Now it's hardly anyone sees what you post. But when I first posted, I only had, a couple hundred followers or maybe 1,000 followers. And out of those, very small amount of followers, we actually had 30 or 40 orders for the free sample. So I was like, okay, well, if more people see this, I think that it'll be, the conversion rate will be pretty good. So it's like, let's see what happens. I put $20 into it for a day just to see what happens. And we had like 60 orders that day for a $20 investment out of nowhere.
60,
so like,
those aren't just sample. Oh, those are sample sizes. I guess.
Most were sample, but then we saw a lot of people, because I have a how-to video that shows the size of the sample. And I was like, okay, this is how you apply the oil, this is how you apply the balm. And then to properly style it, I'm going to use this brush and this comb to finish it off. And I had that video posted with the same page that the free sample was on. So we had a lot of people that came through and bought, the comb or the brush, or what actually made us a lot of money. I was very surprised. So the first, one free sample, normally the $4, coupon code got it for free. And then we had 8 different scents to choose from. And what a lot of people were doing, I would say probably 1 out of 5 of the customers who got the free sample would buy the other 7.
Really?
Yeah. It was a trip, and they loved it.
That's weird.
Yeah, they loved it. They're like, okay, well, all these scents smell great or sound great, so I'll just get one for free, but I really want to try everything this company offers. And so we called it a trial kit. We put it in its own packaging, its own little custom bag with, instruction card and a guitar pick to scoop the balm out and everything. And that's been our number one seller since we started that. It's actually a trial kit, sample of all of our scents.
Wow. What's the most popular scent for that? I mean, I was looking. I mean, you have a lot of scents.
Yeah, we have 12 now. So it depends on who's buying. Actually.
I'm going to make a guess. I have an internal guess on this.
Let's hear it.
Ladies, man.
That is the most popular online, I think, strictly because of the name.
Right.
The scent, it's cool because at the mall kiosk, I can actually do market research. So we have all of our scents lined up, and I have all these people walk through, and everyone smells every single one of the scents we have, and so I get the feedback there. So Ladies Man is probably the number 2 at the kiosk. I would say number 1 is the Royal Night, which is one of our newest scents.
Why is that?
It's Earl Grey tea with lavender and vanilla, and we make it by brewing the Earl Grey tea into the oil.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. How do you decide to come up with a new scent? What was the original?
Well, we have a scent called the original, but actually it was not the very first scent that I created. The very first scent that I created was the biker. And originally, so the reason why I wanted to grow a beard was because my dad had a beard growing up, and him and his friends were all bikers. So when I first started to turn this into a company, the first name that I floated was Biker Beard Balm. And then I decided that was a little too...
niche or something?
Yeah, just, there's only so many
Beard care is niche enough. Like, you need to, like, yeah.
Exactly. And like I said, I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know anything about e-commerce. But, I was like, all right, well, if you're not a biker, you might think that, okay, well, I'm going to try something else. So the biker was the first scent when I was just going to do one, and that was it. But then I enjoyed making it so much and experimenting with the different scents to make it that I decided just to make, a few more, and it just kept rolling.
So, Ladies Man, the Royal Knight.
Yep.
What's another popular one? I'm just looking at it right here.
The Viking is really popular.
Viking.
It's white fur and orange. So it's like
I mean, how do you even come up with that? I mean, what's your process for coming up with a new scent?
It really depends.
I mean, who's thinking? I mean, maybe you do, but like, I think I'm going to put some white fur and orange with a hint of clove together and see what happens. I mean, how do you even come to that?
Oh, a lot of trial and error, experimentation. A lot of the oils we already have because they're in other products that we sell. So, just going through in our clean room and smelling everything, putting the oils together, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Experiment. I get all of my employees to try it, see if they like it.
I'm just curious, how do you decide when it's ready to come out with a new scent? Or, I mean, because you have a lot now, right? And then you have to produce those. There's a lot of time, energy, and money that goes into that. Exactly. When do you say, okay, that's enough right now, or we need to create one?
I really like our original 8 scents, and we still offer that in the trial kit is the first 8. The newer ones, so we have El Barista, which is our coffee scented one, and the Royal Knight, which is the Earl Grey tea. Those ones we consider premium just because it's a lot more labor intensive. We actually brew the Earl Grey tea and we brew the coffee into these products. Yeah. And then we have to buy the raw materials, to do that, all the tea and the coffee to do that. So those are a little bit more expensive, so those aren't part of that normal line. So we still have our base 8. We also have a new one that's called the Bushwhacker, and that one is like a specialty. It's a natural insect repellent.
Is it really?
Oh, wow. Yep. Yeah, and it works really, really well. We have a lot.
Why is it called the Bushwhacker? It just makes me think of WW. There was like the wrestlers.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. Our customers told me about that after I launched it. I'd never even heard of them. But when I was trying to think of a new name for a scent, something that was kind of humorous and catchy at the same time, and every one of the scents I try to correspond to what it's for. Right. So like the Ladies Man has a natural aphrodisiac in it. El Barista is the coffee one.
You should put that on. It doesn't say that. It's the one I'm reading says lemon and vanilla. I don't know that.
The aphrodisiac it's a plant called lang lang. It's a Japanese flower, and a lot of guys think that it smells floral, and you really don't get any of the floral smell to the Ladies Man. So I left it out just because I want the description of the scent to be as accurate as possible. Yeah,
but if it did say natural aphrodisiac, you get more sales.
Yeah, I guess. It's the claims like that too. I try not to put any outlandish claims out there. Yeah, it's not something that I can prove, or that I think that science can prove. You don't want to
be in the gray area. I understand. Yeah. Really interesting, Charlie. And so, have you had to eliminate any scents or any products?
Yeah, we just had to do our first recall actually. So one of our seasonal scents was called the Brewmaster. And we made it by actually brewing hops into our formula to make it smell like a beer without the alcohol. And then we added lemon and vanilla. And it was a huge hit. Everyone loved it. Everyone in our office loved it. And then summertime rolled around, and packages were sitting in people's mailboxes getting to 140 degrees. And if you can imagine an IPA sitting in a hot mailbox for 6 hours, and then what it would smell like or taste like after that, that's what was happening in these products. So because everything's all natural, there's no preservatives in it or anything like that. Right. Under normal conditions, it was fine, but we were finding that when it was getting really, really hot inside people's mailboxes, it was turning like a skunky smell.
Oh, just rename it the skunk, and you're fine.
It was funny. People were like, "Oh man, this smells like weed." I was like, it's not. I promise.
You obviously have had a huge upward trajectory. What have been some of the challenges or mistakes? You probably don't have any of those, but
no, I have a ton.
Yeah.
Hiring employees has been the biggest challenge. Finding the right people for the right job, and especially at the skill level required to make these products and to pack and ship is not high. So we offer more than minimum wage, but even then it's difficult to find people that think outside of the box and that have a really good head on their shoulders and have common sense. So finding those people at this pay rate has been a challenge.
What were some of the positions after you and your wife helped you start the company, right?
Yep.
What did you hire for after the two of you?
So the very first one was just someone to help me make the product. And then a week later, I hired my second employee because as soon as I hired him to help me make the product, I was able to focus on going online and telling people about the free sample and marketing it online. So yeah, a week after I hired my first employee, I had to hire my second one just to keep up. And that was rolling right into January after December. So hired the second guy to help me ship. And then I hired a third person also to help ship. And then it's rolling. So fourth and fifth were to help make product. My sixth employee was my friend Greg. So I offered him the job just because it was getting so big so fast that I needed somebody that I could trust. I didn't really need somebody that knew what they're doing in business because the business is already going really, really well. I needed someone that I could trust with our financials, someone that I could trust with being there to run the business if I had to be out because my wife was pregnant with our first kid. So we brought him on. And it's been a really, really big help. Just having someone that is trustworthy to work with.
So when you bring the first person on to help you make it,
Yep.
do they have any experience? Are you looking for someone experienced, or what are you looking for?
You can't really find someone that's experienced in making beard care products.
I don't know, maybe in the cosmetics industry or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's trying to find someone that has already got that experience, especially in a small town. Dorado Hills is a smaller town, so.
Yeah.
And then
what do you
also,
look for? Yeah, in the person.
So I only have really one question. Like my Greg, the guy that I hired, and now our general manager, they have a ton of questions asking hires. I only have one, and it's a math question.
Okay.
And I've actually found that and it's a very simple question. I can tell you the question if you want, but I found that if people don't answer it correctly, they generally just don't have a really good head on their shoulders.
Okay.
And if they do answer it correctly, then they do. Okay. And I know it sounds silly, but it has been the one thing out of all the different questions we've asked, it has been the one that has held consistent.
Interesting.
That the guys that I've hired that didn't get it right, they've been let go, within 6 months due to either performance or attendance or one reason or another. Yeah.
So are they allowed to use a calculator or no calculator?
No. If they asked, I would probably say yes because it shows initiative. Like, can I use a calculator to help me out? I would much rather if I hire someone to help me make these products, I would rather someone say, wait a second, let me grab a calculator and make sure this formula is correct instead of saying, I think I can do this in my head. Let me just take a guess at it.
Right.
And I've had people tell me, okay, well, it's going to be, the answer is between this number and this number. And I'm like, no, there's like one number I'm looking for here.
So do you want to reveal the question or do you want to keep it secret?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
No, I can tell you guys. So I tell people, you have a recipe or a formula that has 3 ingredients. So ingredients are A, B, and C.
Right.
The first ingredient calls for 10 ounces. Second ingredient calls for 50 ounces. Third ingredient calls for 100 ounces.
Yeah.
You put the third ingredient in first. You accidentally put in 150 ounces instead of 100.
This is crazy. Yeah, I love this. I'm gonna write this down and give it to my kindergartner. So go on, yeah.
Yeah. So say you pour 150 instead of 100 by accident because it happens. Sometimes people put too much of something in there, think that they're doing a different formula or something. So if you accidentally put in 150 instead of 100, what do you have to do to the other 2 so it's the same overall formula, right? And so if 100 is increasing by 50% to 150, you've got to increase the first 2 by 50%. And it seems simple when you think about it. And if you take the time to okay, well, yeah, it's just a 50%. I make the numbers easy, 10, 50, and 100.
Right.
And I would say the amount of people that get it right is probably about 30%.
So no matter what you're hiring for, do you give them that question or is it?
Yes.
No matter what?
No matter what.
Interesting. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's great. How did you handle 600 to 800 messages a day? I mean,
Little to no sleep. So the first year was absolutely insane. I mean, it was more than 16-hour days. I wouldn't even drive. I would have my wife drive because if I was not constantly responding to emails, constantly responding to messages, and working on the business, then I would feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And so I never let it get to that point because I know that if I feel overwhelmed, I tend to shut down. So I just was on it constant, and it paid off.
so hiring is a big challenge. What else has been with growing the business?
I mean, keeping up with demand for the first year, just because I didn't take any loans out, I didn't take any kind of
Wow, you
investments.
bootstrapped that. Wow.
Yeah, so and I didn't really have any savings when I got out of the military. My wife was a nurse and she had just joined the Navy, so she got a bonus to join the Navy. So we had a couple thousand in our savings, but the biggest challenge was keeping everything afloat and ordering in as small quantities as I could. So like, okay, well, we're growing right now, but what happens if I spend $10,000 on this raw material and all of a sudden the sales stop, and then I'm stuck with this for over a year, and the material goes bad, and then I'm just out all this money. So
Yeah.
it took a while for me to get over that fear that the business was going to fail. And once I got over that fear and I had the cash reserves after the first Christmas, I was able to start ordering in bigger quantities.
Yeah.
So now it's not so much an issue. But yeah, the first year, I mean, there was times where we were 3, 4, 5 days behind on getting orders out, and I strive to have orders out same day. So if like right now, if people order before 3 p.m., it's shipped out same day.
Yeah. Because it's capital intensive. I mean, even if you're growing and doing well, it's even more capital intensive.
Yes, yeah, and then also trying to manage, how you're spending your advertising budget, because that's a big part of it. It's kind of scary because you feel like, okay, I put all this money into advertising and it did really, really well, and then you feel like if you start cutting back on your advertising, that your sales are also going to flounder, and you don't want that to happen. So, yeah, it's scary, and you end up, this year I think we put a little more money into advertising than we should have. But at the same time, we'll see how it pays off for Christmas because it could be that we put all that money into advertising and people are just waiting to buy it for gifts.
Where do you focus? Like Facebook, Google Ads, just
Facebook? Facebook free sample. So for the first year and a half, the only advertisement I did was that same picture of the free sample. Mm-hmm. I never changed it. I never did.
You're like, if it's working, I'm not touching it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I would target different demographics to see what would work and what was more cost effective. But the ad itself didn't change for a year and a half.
Now, where else can people find you? You're on Amazon too, right?
Yes. Yeah, we're on Amazon Prime now, although I prefer people order from the site, obviously.
Yeah.
And we actually, most of the time, get products to people faster than Amazon can, especially if they're on the West Coast. But yeah,
For
we're on
a product
Amazon.
like that, Charlie, how does it work? Because Amazon takes a large amount of fees.
Yes, they
right?
do.
So
Yep.
how do you make that work with its smaller products?
I pretty much just consider it like a wholesale account because they tell you they only take 15% or whatever, but then they have all these other fees, and when we're selling products, they're only a majority of our products are between $12 and $20.
Right.
And so these little dollar pick and pack fee, dollar fee here, dollar fee there, all of a sudden they're
Cuts in
taking
everything.
40% instead of 15%. So yeah, I just consider it a wholesale account where we just send them a giant shipment and then they sell it. So yeah, it's but I will say once we actually got on Prime versus just being on Amazon, and that just happened about 2 months ago, we saw about a 250% increase in sales.
Wow.
So it was pretty significant. They took an additional 10% or so from our bottom line, but yeah, they really boosted our sales for Amazon.
So do you do Amazon ads also, or is it just too costly?
I've never been bothered. I always, maybe I should try doing the Amazon ads, but there was just so much going on, and the business was growing so fast that, and I'm still trying to learn how to do the Facebook and Google advertising and everything else, that I just kind of let it do its own thing and figured that, if people saw ads elsewhere, that they would just go on their Amazon and see if it was there and buy there because they want to buy on Amazon. So it seemed to work, and we had decent sales on Amazon. We were doing between 7,000 and 10,000 a month.
Yeah.
In sales, and I was like, okay, that's great.
And that's hands off because they're shipping it for you.
Actually, so that one before we were on Prime, we had to ship. But the orders rolled through. We have an an app that brings all of our different platforms together. So if we sell on our regular website, because we have badassbeardcare.com, we also have badassbeardclub.com,
Right.
which is a subscription-based site.
Yeah.
And then we have Amazon, and then we have individual sales channels, if we sell in the office or whatever. So we have an app that brings everything together and makes it all one. So I couldn't tell the difference between an Amazon order and a regular order. So it was all just under one category.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the club as
Okay.
well. But are there any? So you have the kiosk, you have the badassbeardcare.com, obviously, and the club, and then Amazon. Any other channels that you recommend people check out if they're selling physical products or that you like?
Yeah, we're in between 20 and 30 barbershops and health stores across the U.S.
Nice.
But it's hard to keep an updated list of who currently has product, because a lot of times they'll order product and then it sells out pretty quickly, and then they don't reorder right away. So it's tough telling people exactly where a certain product is at a certain time.
Yeah.
But yeah, at any given point, probably between 20 and 30 barbershops across the country have our products.
You know, it's interesting. So I do a lot of research, and I was reading your Amazon reviews. You have some really stellar Amazon reviews.
Yeah, and I'm really proud that none of them are paid for. We've never offered anything free on Amazon in exchange for a review. All of our reviews, in fact,
It's amazing.
Yeah, real reviews.
Yeah.
Have you seen our Facebook reviews?
No, just the Amazon. I didn't see the Facebook. I looked at your Facebook page, like your actual fan page. Yeah.
I try to tell people, if you're going to look at a company's reviews, try to look at their Facebook reviews, because people have easy access to leave your review immediately after interacting. So if a company turns off the reviews feature on Facebook, it's probably because it's not that great. And Facebook doesn't allow you to moderate your reviews.
Yeah, that's good.
So I think right now on Facebook we have a little over 2,000 5-star reviews, and I think we have 16 1-star, but a majority of the 1-stars are like, oh, my kid pressed 1-star, I don't know how to change it.
Yeah, what are some feedback you've gotten from customers throughout the years that's helped you shape the product and the business?
So the very first month or so, customers were saying that all the products smelled the same to them. They all smelled wildly different to me, but they had the same base formula in it that had some tea tree in it. So that real top note of tea tree, everyone thought everything smelled like
overpowered it for them.
Yeah, well, it didn't even overpower it. It's just when you have stronger scents that are mixed in with other scents, that scent will come out first, but also evaporates fastest. So like when we're at the mall kiosk, I'll have some people smell it directly out of the container. Then I'll apply it, put a drop on their finger and have their fingers rub together. And just the act of them creating a friction on their fingers evaporates that top scent, and then they get the real scent of the product. So if there's a ton of tea tree, it would have overpowered it, but it's a very, very small amount. It's just because it's right there on top.
Yeah. You know, managing all this is a huge feat, right? So what kind of software and apps do you use to manage the business?
I will tell you, ShipStation has been a lifesaver.
Okay.
So that's the app that we use to bring all of our different channels together. Before we had ShipStation, we actually had to manually print every single label. We had to transfer the address from our website over to USPS.com, whatever we're using to print labels. And it was really tedious and time consuming. I had one employee that all he did all day was print shipping labels. And then, that was before we got really, really big to the point we are now. So when we transferred over to ShipStation, it brought everything into one, and we can actually print. Like last December, I think we had about 1,600 orders in one day. It was our biggest day.
Wow.
And we printed all 1,600 orders in about 2 hours.
Wow.
And through ShipStation, and that's
before that would have taken how long?
A couple days.
Wow. Yeah,
and that 2 hours. So what we do to reduce error rate. So another thing is I keep a really close eye on our packaging error rate, and I strive to be under 1%. It doesn't matter to me how long it really takes my employees to actually pack the package. I just want to make sure that it's right.
Yeah.
So we strive for under 1% error rate, and in order to achieve that, we use ShipStation to filter and group packages together. So let's say that for the club especially, it makes it easy. We have all of one tier we can group together and just print those labels and just print those invoices, and then give it to one employee. So that employee knows all they're packing right now is this one type of product. Yeah. So there's less chance of them grabbing something by accident.
It kind of is clustered, so it reduces the error.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Now we also have 3 different shipping methods. So we have USPS First Class, USPS Priority, and we have a USPS DHL e-commerce partnership as a third option. And so we have to sort all three of those. So instead of manually going through and trying to sort when they come to pick up, we just sort it in the ShipStation, and as they pack it, they just put it in different bins.
Yeah. So you use ShipStation, that's big. What else do you use for the platform? What do you use?
So we have multiple. So badassbeardcare.com is BigCommerce. Badassbeardclub.com is Shopify. And the reason why we did
that's
that,
interesting.
I would have loved them to have been on the same platform, but at the time, BigCommerce didn't have a recurring orders app that would work with how I want it to work. And Shopify.
You're featured on Bold's blog because of the Shopify app that you use, right?
Exactly.
The recurring subscription.
Yeah, and it was hard finding a subscription service that was as customizable as I wanted it to be, because if you have a shirt of the month club or whatever, you can get a different shirt every month, and every person is going to need the same amount of shirts, right? They can use one shirt a month.
Right.
But with our products, someone that's just starting to grow their beard doesn't need oil sent every month, versus someone that's got a 3-foot beard.
They have to customize it.
Yeah, they might need it every few weeks. So the current customization of the Bold app that we have allows for anywhere from every 1 week all the way up to every 6 months. And they can also go into their own dashboard. This is another big one, because customer service, we have two employees now, dedicated customer service. So it's expensive keeping that up and making sure that our brand image is maintained, and that our customers are happy. So getting as few customer service related calls or emails as possible was ideal. And this app allows us to have the customer log in to their dashboard, and they can update their address. They can update their card information. They can skip shipments. They can cancel. Yeah. So it really relieves the customer service issues involved with the subscription platform.
So any other apps? So you use for the club, you use Shopify, and then the Bold app, which is the recurring subscription.
Yeah, so we use two of Bold's. So the recurring subscriptions, and then we also use their customer pricing app. And we don't do it to change pricing. What we do is that app allows us to hide products from people that haven't purchased a tier yet. So when you first go to badassbeardclub.com, all you see is our tiers, what you can get sent automatically. But once you buy one of those tiers, it tags you in the customer pricing app as a club member, and then you see all of our products. So
some of them are held back, sort of like VIP-ish, for only the club members.
Yeah, well, all the products. So the club, all you see is those tiers, but then once you join, we have about 60 different products they see, and they're all discounted. So they get 10% off of regular oil balm, wax, and wash, 20% off of accessories, and 30% off of apparel.
How do you get people onto the club? Because I want to hear about why you first decided to do this, because there was a point in time when you're like, okay, you first decided to, and then how you actually got people on to join the club.
It was kind of a spur of the moment thing, but let me show you what really launched it. Get it out of my pocket real quick. Yeah. So it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. I was like, you know what? A lot of these people say, oh, if I buy, 8 things at one time, can I get a discount? And I'm like, well, you can, and I'd be happy to give you a discount, but 8 bottles of oil is going to last you 2 years, and the product's going to go bad. Right. And I was like, what if I offer a discount for you agreeing just to get stuff sent regularly? And so I was like, that sounds like a good idea. I should probably try to look into something like that. And then I was like, you know what? I need to create something where it's more than just, a subscription. Like, people have to feel a connection to the product. I have to have a platform where I can give everyone new information. So we started, a Facebook page dedicated to the club members. And then I designed, so I don't know if you can see it.
Yes, I see certified badass.
Yeah, so that is our membership card. Every membership card gets laser engraved with the customer's member number. So it's a little bit of customization to it.
So hold it up again for a second. Let me see. So because obviously you spent a lot of time and attention on this. So is it just something that goes in their wallet?
Exactly. So that's the other cool part. This sits in their wallet, and our brand name is what's visible from on top of their credit card slot.
So what's that space for? Why is there that
bottle opener?
Oh, it's a bottle opener. Oh, gotcha.
Yep. So it fits in their wallet, so they always have their member card on them, and it's also a bottle opener, so they're never without a bottle opener. And this thing weighs about 4 ounces.
What's it made of?
Solid iron.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Solid iron, powder coated black, and then laser inscribed.
You pull out all the stops.
Yeah. So, but it's stuff like that where customers feel like, okay, this company is not in it just to make a buck. They actually want to make their customers happy. And then they tell all their friends, and that's my philosophy. Customer service is the number one. You got to make sure your customers are happy, especially when you have an e-commerce business, because, social media is not forgiving. You make one misstep,
right,
and all of a sudden it's, the end of your business as you know it. So customer service, making sure that no matter what, it doesn't matter what's happened, our customers walk away happy. So,
So initially, to get people on, what have you found to be the best type of offering for them?
For the club or
for the club, yeah.
So actually, we really haven't advertised the club very much. What I did was I just put on our regular website, badassbeardcare.com, a little description of what the club does, and we have a link there. And then that'll take them to the club site, and there's a video that plays. It kind of explains what the club is and everything. But yeah, at first it was just social media posts, letting people know. The picture of the membership card really garnered a lot of attention. So I was like, hey guys, check it out. These the membership cards. Who wants one? Who's interested in joining the club? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was like a viral post. Everyone's like, this is so cool, the best, coolest card I've ever seen. I want to join. And so the day we launched, we had 600 people sign up.
Wow.
And that was with no advertising. That was just me posting on our Facebook saying, hey, I'm going to do this, and here's the card. Who wants to try it out? So it was a trip. And then we had people that wanted specific card numbers. So this is kind of cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're like, oh, I want, as silly as it sounds, I want card number 420. Or, I want card number 1 or number 5,000 or whatever it was. Or 1776 was a popular one. So was 911. So, so we have a lot of bets and stuff. So all these card numbers, people are like, I want that card number. And the very first person, I was like, oh yeah, I can probably do that for you. I can give you that card number. The very next comment was, well, I want that card number too. And I was like, oh.
Put it on eBay, right? The bidding starts.
Exactly what I did.
Is that what you did?
Exactly what I did. I put all the numbers up on eBay, and I said, whatever you bid, all the money goes to charity. So we donated to Hire Heroes USA. Nice. But we raised $4,500 from people bidding on the member cards.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was a trip. We had people paying $300, $400 for a specific number. It was really cool.
Wow, that's amazing, Charlie. What other? So you use? Why keep BigCommerce?
They have really good service.
It's just too much of a pain to switch.
Yeah, it would be a pain to switch. It would be time consuming to switch. And I'm happy with the way that everything there works. I'm also happy with Shopify too. Both platforms are great. BigCommerce,
you're like a poster child for both of them.
Right? Yeah. BigCommerce just upped their rates recently. I'm hoping that the increased rates means also in the near future more free apps or more capabilities that we previously didn't have to had to pay for. But we'll see how that plays out. I'm going to give them another year and see what happens. But both platforms are great. We started on GoDaddy, so the GoDaddy My Simple Store. I launched it in like 2 hours, and that's how the site we started with. But it's called My Simple Store for a reason. It's meant for people to get a couple orders a day, and once we started getting 100 orders a day or more, the capabilities just weren't there.
You switched to BigCommerce at that point.
Yeah, but anyone else that's out there that wants to check out GoDaddy, that has a smaller site, it's really inexpensive and really user friendly. So if people are looking just to jump in and they don't have any experience, that'll give you the experience you need to start growing.
Yeah, I think Shopify and BigCommerce are pretty affordable. Is their basic plan, right? The basic plan.
The basic plan, yes. But we have so many orders now. That's the other thing that sucks. A lot of these different companies, they kind of rope you in. They give you here's like a zero cost to entry or minimal cost to entry. But as soon as you start getting sales and you become dependent on that service,
right? Yeah.
All of a sudden they're like, oh, well, now you're in a higher tier. So for BigCommerce, I think we're spending a little over $10,000 a year to stay on BigCommerce.
Yeah.
Versus on Shopify, I think it's like $150 a year, and on GoDaddy it was even cheaper than that.
$150 per year? That's it?
Or I'm sorry, $150 a month.
$150 a month. Oh, gotcha.
$150 a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I was gonna say, what other apps do you find valuable? I mean, ShipStation, Bold apps, anything else that you
Yeah.
use to run your business?
Yeah, so Hootsuite for our social media,
Yeah.
because we have so many different social media accounts. We have multiple Facebook accounts, Twitter, multiple Instagram accounts, Snapchat, and Google Plus, and all these different channels. So having everything in one spot, so we don't have to swap back and forth, between all these different windows, is really, really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing what you've done, Charlie, really. And I want to go back to some of the history, right? We talked
Okay.
about, obviously, Badass Beardcare, but tell me about where you were around 9/11, because that was a big turning point for you.
Yeah. 9/11, let's see, when I found out what happened, I was actually on my way to school. My mom was driving me to school. So I was 14 at the time.
You were in California?
Yeah, I was in
Okay.
California in Santa Cruz. And yeah, it was, I'd never experienced anything like that before. I think that the only other event that stands out in my mind as being like, an event that I remember through my childhood as a traumatic thing was Columbine shooting. That was big when we were a kid because it was the first like big school mass shooting, and so
Right.
that stuck with me. But yeah, 9/11. I mean, all my family served. My dad was Army. Grandpa was Air Force. My godfather was Navy. And then, yeah, I just kind of felt the call to serve. And actually, on my 17th birthday, I signed. So
So 3 years later is when you...
10 years later.
Oh, 10 years.
I was in for 10 years.
What did you... No, I mean, after 9/11,
Oh, yeah.
it was
Yeah.
3 years later.
Exactly.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
Good question. So in my heart, I wanted to be a business owner.
You did?
I've told my mom since I was like 10 years old that my life plan was that I was going to own my first house by the time I was 21, that I was going to be a millionaire by the time I was 30, and that I was going to
Really?
retire by the time I was 32. And I was going to do this by starting my own business because I loved selling things when I was a kid. I was always the top seller for my Cub Scout units. When our school would have sales drives, I was always, far and away the highest seller for those stuff. And I just really enjoyed selling things. My mom also had a lot of small businesses that she
What did
tried.
she do?
So Mary Kay, most recently, like
Yeah.
Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Yeah.
Before that, she owned a martial arts shop.
Really? A martial arts shop?
Yeah.
So
both,
did you grow up doing martial arts?
Yeah, her and I are both black belts.
Wow.
So she opened up a martial arts shop. She did Tupperware for a while. She
That's
did
so
something else.
interesting, Charlie. So martial arts to Tupperware, right?
Yep.
So,
Well, started Tupperware, then went to martial arts,
Okay.
then went to Mary Kay, and then she was also working other jobs at the same time. So there's times where she had 3 or 4 jobs going at one time, and then I would be the one, when I was 12 years old, manning the cash register at the martial arts shop. So,
so the badass is really for your mom. That's who it's named
Yeah.
after.
right? Yeah, she's definitely a badass. She did a lot when I was growing up to make sure that things weren't too crazy.
So you saw that, and your mom had a passion for business and entrepreneurship,
Yep.
and that's what you, growing up, that's what you wanted to do.
That's what I really wanted to do. But at the same time, I was a realist, and I knew that most businesses didn't take off, and I didn't have any capital to start a business.
Yeah.
I didn't have experience, and my high school grades made it so that I couldn't get into any colleges that I wanted to get into.
Oh, really?
I had a .81 GPA.
0.81.
Yeah, straight D's and an F.
So you seem like a real conscientious person. How does that happen?
I don't know. I was going through a lot in high school, and my dad passed away sophomore year, and was sick before that.
Wow.
Our house burnt down. Grandpa and grandma, who both lived with me growing up, passed all around the same time. So at school,
That's horrible.
It's life. Shit happens. Sorry, I don't know if I can curse or not.
Yeah.
So bad.
You
But,
can, yeah. I mean, there's a curse in your name, so we've already said badass. So we're okay.
It's also in the Bible, so.
I'm fine with it. There's no
it's
no
cool.
qualms.
It's funny.
So around
Facebook-
that time, a lot happened at once.
Yeah, it was a lot happening at once, and like I said, going to school, I would ace my tests, I would do all the classwork, but then going back home, I really didn't want to do homework. With the atmosphere that was going on, my mom was working all the time, so she wasn't there to make sure that I was doing it. She's a high school kid that was, depressed and alone, and and all this stuff going on. So I wasn't doing any of the homework at all. And that school, homework was 40% of your grade. So I had literally a 0 for my homework, and I was acing every test. I even went, they had like an awards dinner for the California State Golden State exam, and I scored in the top 3 percentile of the state. So, they had like an awards dinner that I was attending, and yet like the day before, they called me to the principal's office to ask if I needed to be held back or, bumped down to special classes. I was like, you got to be kidding me, man. I'm scoring this well on these tests. I'm just not doing homework. So it got tiresome fast. I ended up going on to independent study. Have you ever heard of independent study?
Yeah, but I don't know exactly. I mean, it's different for everyone, right? I mean,
yeah. So you meet once a week with a teacher. She assigns all your work for the week, and then you bring it back. She grades it, assigns you new stuff. So I did that for a few weeks, and the work that she was assigning, I was completing in a day. I'd just sit down, spend 8 hours, and just knock it out.
Yeah.
So after a few weeks, I was like, can you give me like the few weeks worth of homework, and I'll do it. And so she agreed to it, and I flew through independent study. So it was supposed to be 2 years of independent study, and I ended up doing 6 months of independent study, and then I graduated. So I graduated just after my 16th birthday.
Really?
Yep.
Holy cow.
Yep.
How do you get through that as like a kid and all that stuff is like exploding around you? How did you get through that time?
Just, one day at a time.
I mean, is it some people have like an outlet in sports? Some people, I mean, what was your outlet at the time?
Fishing. I love to go fishing. Yeah. So we had a lake really close to our house, and I would go there almost daily and fish. And then, as I got a little older, past 16, like 16, 17, my outlet was not as healthy.
Right.
But, that's one of the reasons why I decided on my 17th birthday. I saw what was going on with my friends. I lived in a little mountain town where, drugs were kind of rampant and alcohol use of minors was pretty rampant. And I saw that my friends were just, they were getting arrested and not doing anything with their lives, and just I didn't want that. And I knew that, I wanted to go to college, and do something in my life, but couldn't afford it and didn't have the grades for it. So the military offered a way to do all that and serve at the same time. So like I said, being a realist, I was like, I don't think that I'm gonna be able to start a business on my own, just out of the gate. So I wanted to become a police officer. So that was the goal. I was gonna be in the military for 4 years, get out, become a police officer, and take some classes at night to start doing that. And then when I retired as a police officer, then the plan was to start a business. And then
you had a set plan from a young age. It's impressive.
Yeah. And the economy took a dump in 2007, so I joined in 2005. And in 2007, 2008, economy went down, and 2008 was when my contract was supposed to be up, and police departments were laying people off instead of hiring people.
Right.
So I stayed on, for a while longer
in the military.
Yep. And then I ended up having a really bad ankle injury that sidelined me, so I got medically discharged after 10 years. So that was kind of like, okay, I got a few months to figure out what I'm going to do. I got accepted in the Sheriff's Academy, and I got a conditional job offer that as long as I completed the academy, they would hire me on. But one of the friends that I grew up with, it's kind of an embarrassing story, but
That's the best kind of story.
He came to my wedding, which was 2 months before I was supposed to get out, and decided that he was going to go smoke some weed in the parking lot on the military base. And so the MPs found him and caught him, and then found a bunch of individually wrapped bags of weed in his trunk. And so the working theory was that I brought him there to sell weed to my friends at the wedding.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, which was not the case at all. He wasn't even really invited. He was a +1 of another friend, just because I knew that he tends to not do smart things. So he was there anyways, and it happened. They involuntarily extended me for another 2 months just to investigate, and they found no misconduct, nothing wrong.
Right.
But I missed the Sheriff's Academy. So then I had 5 months to kill until the next academy started. So I started going to school, and then started growing my beard out, and it all happened within about a month. I mean, it just it went quick. I was like, I want to grow my beard out, and a few weeks later, I was like, this product sucks. I'm going to try to make my own. And then a few weeks later, I was, I'm going to put it online.
It happened so quickly.
Yeah, because my last day in the military was October 9th. So, went from October 9th getting out, and all in December we had $30,000 in sales on our website. So it was,
It's amazing.
really, really quick. Yep.
Charlie, you were in the military for 10 years, right? So
Yep.
tell me a crazy war story, military story. What was one of the crazier, unless it's top secret?
Do you want gory? Do you want funny? What kind of story do you want?
Either or, whatever comes to mind for you was one of your top 2 favorite stories.
Top 2 favorite.
Maybe gory and a funny one.
Okay, I'll do one of each.
Yeah.
So the funny one is I was stationed in Key West, Florida, and we did all the drug and migrant smuggling operations down there, and I was the boarding officer for that. But they sent me to EMT school so that I could be the EMT for the ship. And then about a week after I came back, we were all at the strip club, and this stripper collapsed on stage, and I saved her, and so they called me Dr. Savaho. And
Horrible. You're on the news. Oh my god.
well, so the command refused to give me an award for any kind of life-saving award because they felt that the situation would bring discredit upon the service.
It's sort of a double-edged sword, right?
It
You
is,
saved
it
someone, but where were you at the time when you saved someone?
So they didn't give me an award or anything like that, but when I left, my departing plaque, it had the nickname Dr. Savaho on it.
So were there crazy wedding speeches? Like, did people actually tell that story at your wedding? Or did they refrain from embarrassing you?
I'm really hoping that no one from my wedding sees this interview because they don't know about it.
Your wife does. That's all that matters. So.
Yeah,
Okay,
she knows it.
Okay.
And then see,
Well, thank you for saving someone, no matter who it is. That's the important thing. Yeah.
So I got 2 horror stories. One end bad, one end good. So, do you remember the earthquake that happened in Dominican Republic that caused the tsunami and everything to collapse, and it was just a disaster? So we were actually on the island when the earthquake hit.
Oh my god.
Because we're stationed out in Key West, and we're doing all the migrant operations and smuggling operations, and we caught a couple of drug smugglers, and we're bringing them back to Domrep. Sorry, it's Haiti where the quake happened. So we're bringing back to Domrep, which is the other half of the same island. So we're on Domrep and port call, so we're all drinking and sitting inside this hot tub, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, do you guys feel that? And about an hour later, we got an emergency call, get back to the ship, get underway. So we get underway, and all these Haitians are trying to flee, just get away from the island. The whole country's in chaos, and now is their time to try to make a break for it.
Yeah.
So we found a 35-foot sailboat with 216 people on board.
Wow.
And they were literally people just stacked on top of people, stacked on top of people, laying on top of each other. And there was an infant on board, and the mom wrapped the life vest, like cable, around his neck and ended up accidentally suffocating him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But we went over there in our small boat, got on, got the baby unresponsive, did CPR, and we actually brought him back.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
That was the happy one and ended good.
Yeah.
The other one, we had some migrant smugglers that were going from Cuba to Florida, and one of the migrants got knocked down while we're chasing him on the back of the boat that we're chasing, and they didn't stop, and the really choppy seas, so this guy's head was just boom, boom, boom.
Oh man.
For about 45 minutes, and so by the time we stopped them and got on board, he was just mush.
Oh my, that's horrible.
Yeah. So
you've seen some crazy things.
Yeah, it was. I was only 2 years of my career when I was in Key West, and it was a crazy 2 years.
So I'm gonna transition back to Badass Beardcare, but thank you for telling some of those war stories because I knew you'd have some crazy ones. I did not expect you reviving a stripper as one of the stories, but
I wouldn't have either.
But I want to know how you went from initially you did these small batches and producing it. How did you go from that to producing it at more of a scale?
So when we first started making it, everything was getting melted down in like a small double boiler on a stove. So we were only making about 50 ounces of product at a time.
Yeah.
And then so once we had the capital built up just before last Christmas, so right about the same time that we transitioned over to ShipStation to help there, We invested in this candle making machine, so we can do 3,000 ounces at a time now instead of 50 ounces. So we can make it much larger scale, and thank goodness, because like I said, as sales kept increasing, we really needed that. Otherwise, we would have been SOL.
What's the hardest part about the manufacturing and packaging side of things, like getting it from the oil into the bottles or labeling? What seems to be the most challenging?
Honestly, I think it's just finding the right employees to get it there.
Yeah.
Because the process in itself is not challenging. The challenging part comes in trusting someone else to duplicate this product that you've created. So another reason for that math question is just, we have people that you hire these guys, and you'd think that putting a label in the very center of a product would be common sense, and they do it every time. But then you go out there and you look at it, and half of them are like, labels are halfway on the tin and sliding off or whatever. So it's just been finding employees that have the attention to detail and that really care about what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest part. If they care, I tell everyone, treat every product we make, every package we send, treat it as if you're making it for a family member as a gift, or that you're sending it to a family member as a gift. So you don't want to just throw stuff in a bag. You don't want to just scramble some ingredients together and call it good.
Yeah.
So that's been the hardest part.
Charlie, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I have one last question. I always ask, since it's Inspired Insider, I always ask, what's been the lowest moment business-wise? And then what's been the proudest moment business-wise for you?
The lowest. I haven't had very many low moments in the business so far. Again, it's funny. Just about every challenge that I've faced so far has been related to employees. Just finding good help. So we had a guy, actually. I don't want to say his name or anything.
Yeah, we don't have to out him here now.
He was a really good employee. It started out as just kind of a seasonal help, and just proved himself to be really valuable to the company. And then went through some bad personal stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like a switch. All of a sudden it was just attitude and showing up late. And then just recently in the last few weeks, 3 days straight where no call, no show. Didn't tell us, didn't tell his family, didn't tell anybody. Just disappeared for 3 days.
That's scary.
And coming into the holiday season, I really need reliable people.
Right.
And so it was a very, very tough call to make, especially because I like him. Yeah. And he was a great worker. We have these competitions between our employees because a lot of the tasks get tedious. So we have, twice a day there's a contest where everyone sits down and they all compete to try to do something the fastest. And if they win, they get a point. At the end of the week, the person with the most points gets a $25 gift card. Second place gets a $10 gift card. So he actually won last week.
Yeah.
And then just no call, no show 3 days in a row after that. And I had to fire him.
Wow.
And it's a really tough call to make. He was a good worker. I really liked him, but it comes just down to being consistent.
What did he say?
He disagreed with my decision, but understood why I was doing it. And like I said, I didn't want to. Dealing with employees and having to fire is probably the hardest part. I like people. Yeah. I like to make people happy. I'm customer service focused. That's the main focus for business, making sure people are happy. So to have a guy that I personally enjoy hanging out with, and that was a stellar employee,
it's a tough decision.
All of a sudden just going, flipping a switch and having to make that decision right before the holidays. If this was summertime, I might have had a little more leeway, but I got to have people in there that I know are going to be there. Otherwise, the business is suffering.
Yeah. All hands on deck, no pun intended, right?
And then the proudest moment, I've had a lot of proud moments, man. So our biggest day in sales was last December, and we broke $15,000 in sales in a day.
Wow.
That was a really proud moment. I felt like at that moment, I'd kind of made it.
Yeah.
So that was a really, really proud moment. And just every day things make me proud. I see the way that our customers talk about our products or talk about our company.
Yeah. And
we have like a very loyal fan base. People that like our products love our products. They love the company. They love what we stand for, and they tell everyone they know about it. So just seeing that daily makes me proud constantly.
Yeah. And talk about your wife's role in the company a little bit.
So She was really, really awesome, especially for the first month. Because I'd be up, all night talking to people, trying to get people to try the products, trying to find vendors to make our accessories or our apparel. All of our accessories, our combs and stuff, I designed myself. So I was staying up all night doing all that stuff. And then she was a RN, a registered nurse, so she was working 12-hour days. So she would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, right about the time I went to bed. She'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and start printing the orders, so that when I woke up, I didn't have to go to the computer and sit down and try to do all that. I could get up and pack the orders and then go start making product. So for the first few months, she in her off time, bless her, 12-hour shifts as a nurse is not easy. Yeah. But she was helping just with the grunt work. And then she got pregnant, and then she said she couldn't stand the smells, and she kicked me out of the house. So she was she was instrumental in making this no longer a home-based business. Right. And then she kind of stepped back for a while as the business grew. And then once we got to the point where I needed to hire, someone for HR, she came back in. She had her son, so she's now working a lot less as a nurse. Now she's the HR director. She handles all the payroll, taxes, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Charlie, thank you. This has been awesome. Everyone should check out badassbeardcare.com. Anywhere else they should check out on the internet. There's the Badass Beardcare mascot.
Yeah, that's our dog. Our wife, Ashley, wants to say hi? So interview? Oh, the interview? Yeah, like real quick. I look like who? I'm sorry. We need the real brains behind the operation.
Yeah, right?
I just told them all kinds of nice things about you.
Really nice things or not really? Hi.
Hey, really nice things. That you're the brains behind the operation. Yep. So, which we know is true. So that's okay.
So Jeremy was Inspired Insider. So I was just telling him how you are now HR, and before you were instrumental in kicking me out of the house.
Yep. I did kick him out.
I mean, really, you're one of the reasons because, obviously anything with male and looks and smells is the reason we do that stuff is because of. The reason he did it was because of you, I'm assuming. He didn't really care if his beard was scratchy or whatever the case was. So
he wouldn't care what it smelled like or looked like. He's still sometimes. I'm like, dude.
So now we have you on for a second. What's your favorite story from the journey so far?
Because
you've seen it all from the very beginning till now.
That's a good question. I don't know. I feel like it's been a whirlwind. I can't even think of specifics. It's
because you have to manage that. You have to manage. Now you have a son, right?
Yep.
And you were managing 12-hour shifts as a nurse, right?
Yep.
So, what sticks out to you when you think back?
What sticks out the most is when I was pregnant and all the smells. Like when he had it in the garage, I'd come home after a long shift and.
She want to kill me.
Yeah, that's why I kicked him out of the house, really, because I just couldn't stand the smells. They're just so strong, and when you're pregnant, it's
on overdrive.
Yeah, it's not. In the little tids, it's not concentrated, but when we're making the product, it's very concentrated smells. Yeah. So it's not the same as in the product. It's awesome. I could stand that the whole time I was pregnant, but having the just straight essential oils everywhere and the mess in the house.
But you had to, he was saying, when you'd wake up for your shift, you'd have to kind of get the labels started.
I would print all the shipping labels for the day because he wasn't as good at doing that. He said I was a lot faster. I would get up at between 3:30 and 4:30. Wow. Because my shift starts at 7 or 6:45. So I'd get up between 3:30 and 4:30 and do a bunch of the shipping labels and then get ready for work.
So at that point, were you thinking, I want to join this business full time or not really?
No. No, it was kind of like, you just go where you're needed. Yeah. So, and that's how it's kind of always been. I just do what's needed. I say I'm HR, but I do a lot more. It's we're
the HR, we're the janitor, we're the product mixer, we're the labeler, we're everything.
Yeah, you just go where you're needed. So, with the different projects that we have going on, I'll take on different projects. And, with the house, he can't manage the house anymore. He doesn't have time. So I've got to manage the son, the house, and then whatever projects that he has, he can't.
We're just excited for our son to be old enough to make sample sizes.
Yeah.
How old is he now?
Little hands.
He just turned a year.
Okay. Slave labor, child labor. Just put them to work.
He's got those tiny little fingers to make the samples.
They're perfect.
Then he'll drink it or whatever he'll do with it, right? What do you do for productivity to keep everything organized, right? You have to manage the household, the son, and at the time the nurse and the HR. What do you do that helps you stay organized?
Google Calendar.
Google Calendar. What else?
Yeah, that's my lifesaver. Everything goes in the calendar. If it's not in the calendar, it doesn't exist.
Oh, Google Calendars and then Google Docs, because we can access both from our phone on the go. So if I need to see a document that's been updated by another one of the employees or by Ashley or by Greg, I can just jump on my phone, open the doc, and see what's changed. Yeah. And the same with the calendar. I'm terrible at keeping a schedule, so having her go through and put everything in, I get reminders on my phone. It's been a lifesaver.
Yeah. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Everyone check out badassbeardcare.com. We didn't know that, but I didn't. It's really the badass. I'm going to name it after your mom because anyone who's a black belt in karate is a badass.
There you go.
Thank you, guys. Where else should we point people towards? Any other places on Facebook or
yeah, so if they want to follow us on Facebook, it's just facebook.com/badassbeardcare. If people want to get a free sample, badassbeardcare.com/free-trial, or they can just go to badassbeardcare.com. There's a link for the free sample there on the site itself. Yeah. Just find us on social media. If you guys are local to Roseville, California, stop by the mall. I'll be there working for probably another week. And I'd love to see people.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Cool. Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate it. Bye.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I'm feeling like $100 grand.